I'm going to warn you, this one might get a little rough. So, something I haven't talked a whole lot about. Um, 2015, I was involved in a head on collision with a wrong way drunk driver. I don't like the word victim. I don't choose to use the word that I was a victim in that situation, but I was involved in a head on collision that totaled my car, happened in the middle of nowhere on my way to Payson on a fishing trip. 5 o'clock in the morning in a construction zone on a curve where I could not see the guy coming, and the road was narrowed down to one lane, and I had no escape. But that's not what I wanted to talk about in this blog. I have been doing some speaking for Mothers Against Drunk Driving to share that story and make sure that people understand some of the consequences that go along with getting behind the wheel when you're intoxicated. Now, the gentleman who crashed into me happened to be 2.5 times over the legal limit. But again, that's a different story. What moved me to share this video today was that I did a talk last night, and the gentleman who spoke before me and shared his story has a much, much tougher story to tell. I walked away from that crash with no injuries, basically. I had a couple of abrasions. I was sore for a few days. That was it. Physically, I was fine. Mentally and emotionally, it took me a while to get over that. But then I heard somebody else's story. And the gentleman who speaks before me last night tells the same story he does every time we speak together. And every time, I find it hard to fight back the tears. He tells the story of his son who died of alcohol poisoning the day after he moved away from home. It's a tragic story in every sense of the word, because parents aren't supposed to bury their children. That's not how life is supposed to work. Although I had some tough phone calls to make when my crash occurred, I can't imagine what that guy's been through. But the idea that something good could come out of something so bad is the pervading message that he wants to share with everybody. And I find that incredibly admirable for all that he's been through, for all the difficult conversations and the lonely nights and the family dinners with somebody missing at the dinner table. He's still able to tell that story, hoping that something good comes out of that unbelievably tragic scenario. I don't see how he ever completely heals from it, and I don't think he does either. But he's slowly learning to forgive himself for what happened that night to his son. It wasn't directly his fault, but all parents feel that way. And that's really something to consider. It's one thing if your actions cause you some troubles or some difficulties, things like that. But if you do something that alters your family's life forever and the people around you's lives forever, that is a heavy burden for them to bear for a long, long time. Another thing to consider is that if you think you're having a tough day or a tough week or even a tough year, sometimes a dose of perspective like that makes you realize, you know what, I don't have it as bad as I thought. I was having a perfectly fine day yesterday. Although those talks for Mothers Against Drunk Driving are difficult for me, I do think that I'm doing the right thing and sharing a message that is helpful, and I will continue to do those talks. But every time I hear his story, I realize how lucky and how grateful I am to be in the position I am, to have my family members healthy, to not be burying any children in the family or anything like that. That is tragic, and nothing in my life compares to that. So, my takeaway from this little video for you, a couple of things. One, be grateful for what you have. Don't take life for granted, and certainly don't dwell on the little things that you make into big things. There's always people who are struggling with something much, much greater than you may even be aware of, and they're somehow finding a way to get through. The darkness always comes. There's always going to be bad things that happen at some point in your life. How you deal with it is what's going to dictate how your life ends up. If you can find a way to make things that are tragic, things that are really bad, livable, and find something good to come out of them, you will be much better off. You will be able to forgive yourself and move on if it's something you were responsible for. And you'll have a very different perspective moving forward on what's really important and what is just details. So that's it. Most of my videos are not this heavy. I felt compelled to share this after last night's experience. And I hope it brings a little bit of perspective to your life as well. And as always, if there's anything I can help with, reach out to me through darrenchatter.com. Thanks.